G'day, I'm Wesley, and today I'll be explaining the value of and how to create a driver prompt. Driver prompts are a powerful tool that assists with attaining extra data from drivers outside of the core docket workflow. In the example I will take you through today, our forest manager has an estate of 3 landings. He wishes to record which landing products originate from every time a driver uplifts product. So to get started, let's head over to the driver prompts feature in the menu on the left-hand side of the screen. Now, if you have already created driver prompts as I have, they will appear in a list here. I'm now clicking New to create my own. Now, in order to gain additional information, we must express what we need from the driver through the prompt question. Whatever is written within this field is how the question will be presented to the driver in the app. So consider what you want to ask the driver first and then communicate this in a way that will make sense to them. Also note that the prompt question will become its title or reference name across the rest of your database. So the question I'll be asking is, what landing did you uplift your product from? Now, evaluating how you'd like your drivers to respond first will help you determine what prompt type you could be used the most effectively in your situation. For example, if there is a known response or a range of answers to this question, consider use a prompt that uses a list. But if your question needs a more open-ended response, maybe use a text box so the driver can add more words. Now, in our question, as we ask which landing the driver uplifted the product from, we already know the range of landing locations within our compartment, which is 3, and we should therefore use a list. But as we only desire one response from the driver, I will use a radio selection driver prompt in order to do so. Now, wherever your prompt uses a list, such as ours does, prompt options is where we begin to enter these options. In our scenario, as I'm imagining a smaller state where the landing numbers is only 3, in order to create these 3 active landings, I will type 1, a comma to separate the values, 2, another comma, and then 3. And as I wish every driver to respond to this question that comes to this compartment, I will select that the driver is required to respond. Next, we need to consider where the prompt appears within the workflow of the driver app. Currently, we have 3 key times where you can display a prompt. The first is during the docket creation workflow when the driver selects various entities, the products and delivery locations that apply to them. The second is at the end of this workflow, but before they begin their journey to the delivery location, and this appears at the docket summary screen once all selections have been made and the driver declaration has been accepted. Now, the third is when the driver completes their drop-off and completes their way in at a delivery location. So given that our prompt is about selecting a landing number within the compartment, we want the driver in the forest to be prompted during the creation workflow or immediately after they select the compartment. So to do so, I'll select immediately after. Now, in our example, as this information is recorded for the benefit of the forest manager and is therefore an internal benefit, we will be selecting private as it has no immediate value to other parties in the supply chain. But should there be a real-time value to other stakeholders in your driver prompt, please choose public to share this through the Logger Air service. So select No. Now, in most cases, when you create driver prompts, you won't have to consider or use reporting groups at all. But in our scenario, we ask the question of what landing the driver is on and show them a radio list of 1, 2, or 3. So if we were to create another prompt question for a larger compartment that has, say, up to 10 settings, we now have 2 driver prompts that provide the same result of landing number. Therefore, here we could utilize a reporting group if we had 2 of the same questions that we wish to be recorded as a single data point in a CSV reporting file. So I'll go ahead and select landing group, and then I'll go ahead and click save. Now that we have undertaken the creation of the driver prompt and press save, a summary screen will now appear. Review this to make sure this is exactly how your prompt should look. However, our job isn't finished as we have selected the immediately after option. Therefore, we must now assign it to the applicable forest operation so that when this compartment is selected, the attached prompt will appear. So I'm going to attach it to Australian Acacia Plantations with the compartment name Smith 4A. And I'm going to move down into the driver prompts and find our created driver prompt just then, and this will attach it once we have pressed save and close. Now, jumping over to the Logger app, I've logged in to start my shift and I've driven out and arrived in the forest ready to start my docket creation. A simple reminder quickly is that the app will only get the latest updates at either login or when you utilize the refresh button in the top right corner. So now as I begin to undertake the docket creation process, you remember that I've attached the prompt to appear after Smith 4A Australian Acacia Plantations, and as I do so you'll see that it does. So I'll select landing 2 as if I'm the driver uplifting my product from there, and then you'll continue selecting all the entities you need for the docket information, and then finally agreeing to the driver declaration. And this arrives at the docket summary screen, which is the second point in our workflow where we can add a driver prompt. So now that we have completed our driver creation workflow and answered the driver prompt within the app, let's now view a completed docket together with an eDockets. So you can search for the docket via the docket number, or in our case, just access the most recently created docket. So here you will see some core information that has been summarized and defined through driver selection within the Logger app. And over, most importantly, in the right-hand corner for us is the driver prompt section. Here you'll notice that the question name that we created within the prompt has become its reference title across the rest of the database, and you will see the driver response here, which is landing 2. Now, we had a driver answer the question, what landing did you uplift from? That immediately appeared after their compartment, and they answered via a radio selection. Now, if you wish to see other possible uses for driver prompts or other Logger videos about features or the system in general, please watch our other videos to continue our journey. And otherwise, I'm looking forward to our next time together. Cheers.